The planet was quiet, too quiet. Ethan Walker, a human engineer, stepped carefully over the cracked ground. His boots pressed into red dust that clung like powder. The sky above him was pale and endless, filled with two suns that burned hot but gave no comfort. He had landed on this strange world 3 days ago, searching for old ruins. Rumors said the planet once held a great alien city, but now only silence remained. Ethan's scanners had found pieces of metal buried under the sand. And that was why he was here, to collect, to study, to survive. But today, something was different. As he moved between broken stone pillars, Ethan heard a sound. It was faint, almost like a cry carried by the wind. He froze. For 3 days he had heard nothing but the echo of his own breath inside his helmet. No animals. No voices. Nothing. Yet now, there it was again. A soft cry, weak and trembling. Ethan followed it, his pulse rising. He tightened the grip on his tool belt, where a small plasma cutter hung like a weapon. He moved slowly, step by step, toward a half-buried shipwreck. The ship was old, broken. Its frame split open like the ribs of a dead beast. Sparks still flickered from wires that should have died long ago. And there, half hidden under a piece of collapsed metal, was a small figure. Ethan's breath caught. It was not human. The figure was a girl. An alien child. Her skin glowed faintly blue, as if tiny stars lived beneath her flesh. She was thin, fragile, and covered in dust. Her long silver hair tangled across her face. One arm was pinned under the heavy wreckage. Her lips moved, whispering a sound he could not understand. Ethan's instinct screamed at him, "Leave." This was not his problem. Helping could mean danger. If someone or something had attacked this ship, they might still be nearby. But he looked into the girl's eyes. They were wide, shining with fear, but also with hope. She was alive. And if he left her, she would die here alone. Ethan shook his head. "Damn it," he muttered. Then he rushed forward. The wreckage was heavy. He pressed his shoulder against it, pushing hard. His muscles burned, but the metal groaned and shifted. The girl gasped weakly. Ethan gritted his teeth and gave one final push. The wreckage rolled aside, slamming into the sand with a thud. The girl's arm was free. She tried to move, but cried out in pain. Her skin shimmered brighter for a moment, then dimmed. Ethan knelt, carefully lifting her into his arms. She weighed almost nothing. Too light, too fragile. Her chest rose and fell in shallow breaths. She whispered again the same word, soft and broken. Ethan did not understand, but he knew it was important. "Easy," he said gently. "I've got you." Carrying her, he hurried back through the ruins toward his small camp. The suns were sinking, painting the sky in deep purple light. Long shadows stretched across the ground, and for the first time Ethan noticed something that made his blood run cold. Footprints. Not his. Not hers, large claw-shaped prints in the dust, fresh, leading toward the shipwreck, and now leading toward him. Someone or something had been watching. Ethan's steps quickened. His camp was hidden in a cave at the edge of the ruins. He pushed inside, sealing the metal door behind him. The girl shivered in his arms, her glowing skin flickering like a dying flame. He laid her on a cot, pulling out his medical kit. The cuts and bruises were easy to clean, but her breathing worried him. He pressed a small oxygen mask to her face, hoping human air would help. She stirred, her glowing eyes opening again. For a moment, their gazes locked. Ethan saw fear. Yes, but also trust. This girl did not know him, did not know humans, but she looked at him as if he were the only safe thing left in the universe. Slowly, she reached out with her small hand and touched his chest. Her lips formed the same word once more. Ethan frowned, recording it in his wrist device. He would try to translate it later. But outside, in the deepening night, something scraped against the rocks near his camp. A low growl carried on the wind. Ethan froze. His hand moved to the plasma cutter at his side. Whatever had left those footprints had followed him here. The girl closed her eyes, whispering one final time before sleep took her. Ethan leaned close, catching the sound of the word again. It was short, simple, strange, and for some reason, it sent a chill down his spine. The cave grew darker. The growl outside came closer, and Ethan realized one thing. By saving this girl, he had just invited danger straight to his door. The night was long. Ethan sat awake inside the cave, his back against cold stone, his hand tight on the plasma cutter. Outside, the growl he had heard earlier faded, but he knew something still moved in the dark. The footprints were proof. He and the girl were not alone on this planet. The girl lay on the cot, wrapped in one of his emergency blankets. Her breathing had steadied, but her skin still gave off that soft, ghostly glow. Sometimes it brightened for a second, as if her body was reacting to something in her dreams. Ethan kept watching her, wondering who she was and what kind of world had made her like this. When morning came, the suns rose quickly, flooding the cave with light. Ethan removed his helmet, rubbing his tired eyes. He had not slept, but he could not risk it. Not with an injured alien child beside him. Suddenly the girl stirred. She opened her eyes, blinking at the strange human sitting near her. For a long moment she said nothing. Then slowly she sat up, clutching the blanket to her chest. Ethan lifted a hand, showing he meant no harm. "Easy," he said softly. "You're safe here." She tilted her head, confused. The words meant nothing to her. She studied him with wide, glowing eyes, then glanced around the cave as if trying to understand where she was. Ethan picked up a ration pack, tore it open, and held it out. Food. The girl flinched at first, but hunger was stronger than fear. She sniffed the pack, then took a small bite. Her glow brightened for a second, like light flickering inside glass. Ethan almost smiled. At least she could eat human food. Hours passed in silence. Ethan tried speaking to her, simple words: water, sleep, safe. She did not answer. Instead, she only watched, cautious and curious. Her silence was heavy but not empty. It felt like she understood more than she could say. That night, as the suns fell again, Ethan was about to seal the cave door when he noticed something strange. The girl's glow began to change color. It shifted from pale blue to a faint silver, pulsing like a heartbeat. Then, she whispered. Ethan froze. He leaned closer. Her lips moved carefully, shaping a sound he had heard before. One word, the same word she had spoken at the wreck. He recorded it again. The translation device struggled, symbols flashing across the screen. After a moment, it gave a result, but not a clear one. The word had two possible meanings: name or warning. Ethan looked at her, puzzled. Was she telling him who she was? Or was she trying to warn him about something coming? Before he could ask, she reached out with a trembling hand and touched his wrist where the device glowed. Her eyes softened, almost pleading. Ethan understood one thing. She wanted him to remember this word. It mattered. But then, a sound broke the quiet. Scratches. Again. From outside the cave. The girl's glow dimmed. She froze, her eyes wide with terror. Ethan grabbed the plasma cutter, his heart racing. Slowly he moved toward the door, pressing his ear against the stone. The scratching stopped. Silence. Ethan waited. Then suddenly a low hiss echoed through the cracks. He stepped back, gripping his weapon tighter. When the hiss faded, he turned to the girl. She was trembling, clutching the blanket, but she did something unexpected. She pointed at the wall of the cave toward the forest outside and then pressed her small hand against her lips. Silence. Ethan stared. Did she understand the danger? Did she know what was out there? That night, neither of them slept. In the morning, Ethan tried again to speak with her. He pointed to himself. Ethan, the girl watched him. Then, hesitantly, she touched her chest and whispered something soft. It was not the same word as before. It was shorter, gentler. Ethan repeated it back carefully, though the sound was strange in his human mouth. She gave the faintest smile, her glow flickering warm for the first time. A connection, a fragile one. But it was real. Days passed. The girl remained silent most of the time, but Ethan noticed patterns. She flinched whenever the ground shook with distant thunder. She tensed at certain sounds, growls, echoes, the flap of wings in the distance. And always at night she whispered that one word again, the one his device could not fully translate. One evening, as he worked on repairing a broken drone, the girl came closer. She touched the machine with gentle fingers, and to Ethan's shock, her glow pulsed into it. The dead circuits lit up for a moment, sparking back to life. Ethan's eyes widened. She wasn't just glowing. She was connected to energy. She could wake machines with her touch. Before he could ask, she pulled back, her glow dimming again. She looked at him, eyes full of fear, as if she had revealed too much. Ethan whispered, "What are you?" But she only shook her head, pulling the blanket tighter. That night the scratching returned, louder, closer, circling the cave. Ethan stood guard, plasma cutter ready, his heart pounding. He knew one thing for certain. The girl was not just a silent guest. She was the reason something was hunting them, and if he wanted answers, he had to keep her alive. The suns rose again over the silent planet, painting the ruins in red and gold. Ethan had hardly slept. All night he had listened to the scratching and hissing outside the cave, and every sound had felt closer than the last. By morning the noise was gone, but the fear remained. The alien girl, his silent guest, sat near the cave wall, clutching the blanket tight. Her glow was faint, weaker than before. She had eaten a little food, but her eyes looked distant, as if part of her mind was trapped in a memory she could not escape. Ethan crouched near her. "It's okay," he said quietly, though he wasn't sure if that was true. "We'll figure this out." She tilted her head, watching him. Then she lifted one glowing finger and pointed toward the forest outside the cave. Ethan frowned. "What is it? You want me to go out there?" The girl didn't answer, of course. But her eyes, wide, urgent, told him enough. Ethan sighed. He checked his gear: plasma cutter, scanner, survival pack. Then he sealed the cave door behind him and stepped into the open. The forest was strange and silent. Its trees were tall, black, and smooth, their branches reaching like claws into the sky. A thin mist crawled along the ground, curling around his boots. The air smelled sharp, like metal after a storm. At first, nothing moved. But then Ethan saw them, footprints. The same claw-shaped tracks he had noticed days ago. They led into the forest, deep between the shadowed trees. He hesitated. Going deeper meant danger. But if he stayed blind, he and the girl would never be safe. So he followed. The further he walked, the darker it became. Even though 2 suns burned above, the forest seemed to swallow the light. His scanner picked up faint energy readings, signs of movement but too fast to lock onto. Something was circling him. Ethan gripped his plasma cutter tighter. "Come on," he muttered under his breath. "Show yourself." A branch snapped behind him. He spun, weapon ready, but saw nothing, only mist and shadows. His pulse raced, then suddenly a whisper, not from his mind, but real, carried through the air. A voice, low and strange, speaking in a language he did not understand. It came from the trees. Then another voice answered, closer this time. Ethan's blood turned cold. He wasn't imagining things. There were more of them. He took a slow step back. The voices grew louder, moving through the mist. Figures shifted between the trees, too fast to see clearly. Only glimpses. A flash of glowing eyes, the outline of tall shapes moving silently. He turned to retreat, but froze. Ahead of him, on the path back to the cave, a figure stepped out of the mist. It was tall, much taller than him. Its skin glowed faintly, silver like the girl's. But unlike her, this one carried a long spear made of black metal. Its eyes locked onto Ethan, unblinking, cold. Ethan raised his plasma cutter. "Stay back," he warned, though his voice shook. The figure tilted its head as if studying him. Then it spoke, a string of words that meant nothing to him. Behind him, more shapes appeared in the mist. At least 3, maybe more. They moved with quiet grace, surrounding him. Ethan's breath quickened. He was trapped. Then, suddenly, one of the shapes whispered the word he had heard from the girl. The same word she had repeated again and again. Ethan froze. The tall figure with the spear narrowed its eyes. It repeated the word slowly, this time pointing at Ethan. Ethan's heart pounded. Did they think he understood? Did they think he was connected to the girl somehow? He lowered his plasma cutter slightly, taking a gamble. "Protector," he said quietly, repeating the sound as best he could. The forest fell silent. For a moment, no one moved. The tall alien stared at him, unreadable. Then slowly it lowered its spear. The glow in its skin brightened faintly like a signal. The others stepped back into the mist, vanishing as silently as they had come. Ethan stood there, breathless, shaking. Only the tall figure remained. It studied him for another long moment, then turned and melted back into the forest without a sound. And just like that, Ethan was alone again. He stumbled back through the trees, his heart still racing. When he reached the cave, he sealed the door and leaned against the wall, gasping for breath. The girl rushed to him, her glowing eyes wide with fear and hope. She touched his arm, whispering the same word again. Ethan nodded, his voice low. "Yeah, protector. I heard them say it." The girl's glow brightened, her small hand tightening around his wrist. Ethan realized something then. She wasn't just a lost child. She wasn't just a silent guest. She was connected to the shadows in the forest, and those shadows knew about him now. They had seen him. They had spoken to him, and they had called him something he did not yet understand. Protector. The next 2 days passed like a storm in Ethan's mind. He could not forget the forest, the glowing eyes, the whispers, the tall figure with the spear. They hadn't killed him. They could have. Instead, they had spoken one strange word and left him alive. That word, protector. Now every time he looked at the alien girl, he wondered what it meant. Why had they called him that? What did it mean for her? The girl was getting stronger. Her wounds were healing faster than any humans would. The glow in her skin returned little by little, brighter each night. And her eyes, those strange star-like eyes, never left him. She followed him with a kind of silent trust, as if she believed he really was the protector the forest figures had named him. But Ethan was no hero. He was just a man with broken tools, trapped on a silent world. On the third night, everything changed. The girl sat beside him near the small fire he had built inside the cave. She was humming softly, a strange sound that reminded him of distant bells. For the first time, her silence seemed less heavy, almost peaceful. Then movement outside. The hairs on Ethan's neck rose. He grabbed his plasma cutter and stood, motioning for the girl to stay back. The scratching was back again, but louder, closer, no longer hiding. This time Ethan didn't wait. He unsealed the cave door and stepped out into the night. The forest mist curled in silver waves under the twin moons. And there, standing just beyond the firelight, were 3 tall figures. They were women. Not human, but women all the same. Their glowing skin shone faintly, each shade slightly different. One silver, one pale blue, one almost violet. Their hair flowed long and bright like liquid light. They wore simple armor made from dark crystal plates, and each carried a weapon. Spears and curved blades that looked both elegant and deadly. For a long moment, no one moved. Ethan raised his cutter, heart pounding, but his finger refused to press the trigger. Something in their eyes stopped him. They were not predators. They were not beasts. They were looking at him with the same sharp caution he felt toward them. Behind him, the girl gasped. She stepped into the open, clutching his arm. The women's eyes widened. Their glowing skin brightened, a ripple of energy passing between them like a silent signal. One of them, a tall woman with silver skin, took a single step forward. She looked at the girl, then at Ethan. Her lips moved, and in a low, clear voice, she spoke a word. Protector. Ethan froze. The same word, again. The girl let go of his arm and rushed forward, her glow flaring bright. She stopped a few feet away from the silver woman and whispered something too soft for Ethan to understand. The silver woman's face softened. She reached out and touched the girl's hair gently, almost like a mother would. Ethan lowered his weapon slowly. His mind was racing, but he understood one thing. These were her people. The second woman, her skin glowing pale blue, looked at Ethan with sharp eyes. She spoke, but the words were unfamiliar. Ethan shook his head. I don't understand, he said. The women exchanged glances. Then the violet-skinned one stepped forward. She pointed at Ethan's chest, her expression unreadable. Protector, she repeated firmly, the word heavy in her accent. Ethan's mouth went dry. He swallowed hard, trying to steady his voice. Why do you call me that? They didn't answer. Instead, the silver woman placed her hand gently on the girl's shoulder. Then she looked at Ethan and gave the faintest nod, as if acknowledging him. The girl turned back, her glowing eyes locked onto his. She reached out her hand, motioning for him to follow. Ethan's heart pounded. Every instinct told him this was dangerous. But another part of him knew. This was the moment everything would change. Slowly, he stepped forward. The 3 women turned and began walking into the forest. The girl followed, her hand still reaching back toward Ethan. He hesitated one last time, glancing at the cave, at the safety he was leaving behind. Then he sighed, muttered a curse under his breath, and followed them into the mist. The forest was alive that night. The trees glowed faintly as the women passed, their presence stirring the strange energy of the land. Ethan could hear whispers all around him, voices carried by the wind, though he saw no one else. Finally, the silver woman raised her spear and the whispers went silent. They reached a ridge. Below it lay a hidden valley, shielded by walls of black stone. Ethan's eyes widened. There were more of them. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Women with glowing skin, tending fires, shaping tools, watching from the shadows. A whole tribe hidden in the valley. The girl ran ahead, her glow blazing bright as she rushed into the arms of an older woman waiting at the valley's edge. Ethan stood frozen on the ridge, his mind reeling. The tribe stared at him, every pair of glowing eyes fixed on the strange human who had brought their lost child home. And then as one, they whispered a word that echoed across the valley. Protector. Ethan's knees nearly buckled. He had saved one girl, and now an entire tribe looked at him as if he had been chosen for something far greater. He didn't know what it meant, but he knew one thing for certain. His life would never be the same again. The hidden valley felt like another world. Ethan stood on the ridge, staring down at the tribe of glowing women. Fires burned in circles across the valley floor, their light reflecting against black stone walls. Dozens of eyes glimmered in the shadows, all fixed on him. The stranger, the outsider, the man they had just called Protector. The girl he had saved clung tightly to the older woman's arms. The woman's glow was deeper, warmer, as if age had carved wisdom into her skin. She looked at Ethan for a long time, her expression unreadable. Then she raised her hand. The tribe parted, opening a path through the crowd. The silver-skinned warrior from the forest gestured for Ethan to follow. Ethan's throat was dry, his hand resting nervously on the plasma cutter at his side. Every instinct told him to run, but the girl's eyes met his, bright, trusting, unafraid. That trust anchored him, so he walked down into the valley. The people led him into a stone hall carved into the cliffs. Strange symbols glowed faintly along the walls, pulsing with the same energy he had seen in the girl's skin. Inside, the air was heavy with incense and heat. At the far end, the older woman stood waiting. The girl sat beside her, safe, calm, her glow now steady. The silver warrior spoke first. Her voice was sharp but not hostile. She repeated the word again, pointing at Ethan. Protector. Ethan exhaled. You keep calling me that, he said. Why, what does it mean? For a moment, silence. Then the older woman stepped forward. She placed her hand on the girl's shoulder and spoke slowly. Her words were alien, but Ethan's device caught fragments. The translation flickered. Child. Saved. Chosen. Protector. Ethan frowned. Protector of what? Of her? He pointed to the girl. The older woman's eyes softened. She nodded. Then she said something else. The device struggled, spitting out half-broken words. Tribe. Asked Hope. Forbidden. Ethan's chest tightened. Forbidden? What did that mean? The silver warrior raised her spear, pointing it at the ceiling where more glowing symbols marked the stone. She spoke in a firm, echoing voice. The device translated pieces. Galactic law. Interference. Punishment. Ethan's stomach dropped. He understood. By saving the girl, he had broken a law. A galactic law. The older woman continued. Her words came slower now, heavy with sorrow. Ethan's device struggled to keep up, but the meaning was clear enough. Long ago, their people had lived across many worlds. They had been strong, proud, and feared, but a great war had destroyed their males, every last one. The women who survived had been hunted, scattered, forced into hiding. Now only this hidden tribe remained, clinging to life in secret. The girl he had rescued, the child, was special. She was the daughter of their leader, the last of her line. If she died, hope for the tribe's future would fade forever. Ethan looked at the girl. She sat quietly beside the older woman, her eyes shining with sadness. So when I saved her, Ethan whispered, I didn't just help one child. I changed everything. The silver warrior's expression hardened. She said another word, sharp like steel. The device translated punished. Ethan's jaw clenched. Punished by who? The warrior's glow darkened. She spat out the word like poison. Council, the Galactic Council. Ethan's mind reeled. He had heard stories about them, an ancient authority that ruled over hundreds of species. Their laws were absolute, and one of those laws was clear. No species could interfere with another's survival. No rescues. No protection. No exceptions. He had broken that law the moment he carried the girl out of the wreckage. Now if the council discovered this, he would not only face execution, he would doom the entire tribe. The older woman stepped closer. Her eyes held sorrow, but also something deeper, hope. She touched Ethan's chest gently and whispered a single word. The device translated with surprising clarity. Choice. Ethan swallowed hard. A choice? She nodded. He understood. He could leave now, return to human space and hope the council never found this valley. Or he could stay and protect them. Stand against the most powerful law in the galaxy. His heart pounded. I'm just one man, he muttered. I can't fight the council. I can't protect a whole tribe. But the girl stood then. She walked to him, her small hand reaching out to his. She looked up at him with glowing eyes filled not with fear but with faith. In that moment, Ethan realized something. To her, he wasn't just a stranger. He wasn't just the man who pulled her from the wreckage. To her, he was the protector. And maybe, to the whole tribe, he could become one. That night, Ethan sat alone at the edge of the valley, staring up at the twin moons. The tribe slept, but he could not. His mind turned over the truth again and again. The tribe was alive but fragile. The council would destroy them if they were found, and he, just one human engineer, had to decide whether to walk away or stay and fight for them. Behind him, the forest whispered with strange voices. Shadows moved in the mist, watching, waiting. Ethan clenched his fists. He had made a choice without even realizing it the night he lifted the wreckage and saved the girl. And now, there was no turning back. Ethan could not sleep. The valley was quiet, filled with the glow of hundreds of small fires. The tribe of women slept close to one another, their glowing skin lighting the night like stars scattered across the ground. The child, the girl he had saved, was safe in her mother's arms, but Ethan lay awake, staring at the twin moons. His chest felt heavy. His mind spun with fear and questions. He had a ship. He had enough fuel to leave this cursed world and return to human space. If he left now, the council might never know what he had done. He could disappear, live, and forget. But if he stayed, if he chose to protect these women, he would be an outlaw. The council would hunt him across the galaxy. The older woman's words still echoed in his mind. Choice. By morning, he had still not decided. The Silver Warrior, the one who had first spoken to him in the forest, came to him at dawn. She stood tall, spear in hand, her eyes sharp like blades. She spoke words the device struggled to translate, but the meaning was clear. If you stay, you fight. If you leave, you betray. Ethan clenched his jaw. You don't understand. I'm not a warrior. I'm an engineer. I fix machines, I patch wounds, I don't lead battles. But the Silver Warrior only repeated the word again. Protector, Ethan cursed under his breath. That word again. Always that word. The girl appeared then, slipping from the crowd and rushing to him. She clutched his hand, her glow bright and steady. She whispered his name in her soft alien tongue. Not Protector this time, Ethan. His heart tightened. She trusted him completely. She believed. The day passed slowly. Ethan walked the valley, trying to understand these people. He saw women weaving nets, sharpening spears, tending to the fires. He saw the girl play with others her age, laughter glowing brighter than her skin. For a moment, he forgot the danger. For a moment, it felt like peace. But then the sky tore open. A shadow fell across the valley. Ethan looked up and his blood turned cold. Ships, not large warships, but scouts. Sleek black vessels with the council's mark glowing red on their hulls. They moved like hunters, slow and patient, scanning the ground below. The tribe panicked. Mothers pulled children into hiding. Warriors grabbed weapons, their glowing skin pulsing with fear and readiness. The Silver Warrior looked at Ethan. Her eyes were fire. This is what I feared, Ethan muttered. His chest pounded. They're here. The ship circled once, then vanished back into the clouds. But Ethan knew. This was not the end. It was only the beginning. The council had found them. That night, the tribe gathered in the great stone hall. The older woman, the leader, spoke to them, her voice calm but heavy. The device translated broken pieces. They have come. They will return. We must choose. All eyes turned to Ethan. He felt the weight of their stares like stone pressing on his shoulders. He stood, his voice rough. If the council comes here, you cannot fight them. You'll be wiped out. The Silver Warrior growled something sharp. The device translated one word clearly. Coward. Ethan bristled. I'm not a coward. I just know the council. They don't forgive. They don't leave survivors. The older woman stepped forward, her eyes glowing steady. She touched his chest gently the same way she had before and whispered the word. Choice. Ethan's heart hammered. He looked at the girl, her glowing eyes locked onto his. she whispered softly, almost pleading. Protect her. He closed his eyes. He saw himself walking away, returning to his ship, flying free. He could do it. He could live. But he also saw the council's soldiers storming the valley. He saw the girls screaming, the tribe burning, their glow fading into darkness. He opened his eyes. No, he whispered. His voice grew louder. No, I won't run. Not this time. The tribe fell silent. Ethan stepped forward. His hands shook, but his voice was steady. If the council comes, I'll stand with you. I'll protect her. I'll protect all of you. The silver warrior's eyes narrowed. She studied him for a long moment. Then slowly she lowered her spear in respect. The tribe erupted, not in fear this time, but in hope. They chanted the word again, voices echoing through the stone hall. Protector, protector, protector. Ethan's knees almost buckled under the weight of it. He wasn't ready for this. He wasn't a hero, but now he was their only chance. Later, as the fires burned low, the girl curled up beside him. Her glow warmed the night. She whispered his name again, soft and fragile. Ethan looked down at her, his throat tight. He brushed her silver hair back gently. I don't know how I'll do this, he admitted, but I swear I won't let them take you. Outside the valley, the night sky glowed faintly red. The council's ships were still out there, watching, waiting. Ethan clenched his fists, feeling the weight of his choice settle deep in his chest. He had chosen. He would fight, and now the galaxy would come for him. The red glow in the night sky grew brighter with each passing hour. By dawn, the council's ships returned. This time they did not circle and vanish. They came low, cutting through the clouds like blades. Their black hulls shimmered with red light, weapons humming, engines shaking the ground below. The hidden valley trembled. The tribe gathered quickly. Mothers pulled children into the caves. Warriors lined up with their crystal spears and blades, their glowing skin pulsing with courage and fear. The silver warrior stood at the front, her spear raised, eyes burning with fire, and beside her stood Ethan. He wore no armor, no grand weapon, only his patched suit, a plasma cutter at his hip, and a heart that refused to run. The girl clung to him for a moment, whispering, "Protect her." He knelt to her, brushing her silver hair back. "Stay with your mother. No matter what happens, don't let go." She nodded, her glow trembling with fear, but her eyes never left his. The first council ship landed at the edge of the valley. Its engines hissed, spilling smoke across the rocks. The door opened and soldiers marched out in black armor, their helmets shining with crimson visors. They were tall, strong, and merciless. Each carried rifles humming with deadly energy. Their leader stepped forward, raising a metallic staff that glowed with the council's seal. His voice boomed, amplified by his helmet. "By order of the Galactic Council, this gathering is forbidden. The child will be taken. The tribe will be judged. The human will be executed." His words echoed through the valley like a death sentence. The tribe murmured in fear. The silver warrior growled, lifting her spear higher. Ethan stepped forward before she could speak. He raised his voice, steady despite the pounding in his chest. "No, the child stays here. She belongs to her people, and I claim her under human law, as my daughter." The valley went silent. Even the council soldiers hesitated, their helmets turning toward their leader. The man's voice crackled with anger. "Human law does not apply here." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Then you'll have to go through me." The leader gave a sharp signal. Soldiers raised their rifles. The tribe tensed, spears ready. The air shook with the promise of blood. And then the first shot fired. A beam of red light cut across the valley. Ethan dove, pulling the silver warrior down with him. The tribe roared, their glow blazing as they charged forward. The battle began. Energy beams lit the air, slicing through stone. Warriors leapt like shadows, their glowing skin turning them into streaks of light. Spears clashed with armor, blades sparked against rifles. Ethan fought at the center. His plasma cutter hissed, burning through the chest plate of one soldier. He moved fast, using the rocks and shadows for cover, striking where he could. But the soldiers were many, and the tribe was few. Ethan's heart pounded. He could hear the girl crying out in the distance, calling his name. He fought harder, forcing back 2 soldiers at once. His arms burned, his lungs ached, but he did not stop, because if he fell, she would be taken. The silver warrior fought like fire itself. Her spear cut down soldier after soldier, her glow blazing bright enough to blind. The tribe rallied behind her, their voices rising in fierce cries. But still, the council pressed forward. Their numbers seemed endless. Ethan stumbled, nearly falling under the weight of a soldier's strike. The plasma cutter flickered, its power failing. The soldier raised his rifle for the final blow, and then a blast of silver light struck the soldier square in the chest, throwing him back. Ethan turned. The girl stood there, her small hands glowing brighter than he had ever seen. Her skin blazed with pure energy, her eyes burning like stars. She cried out, her voice shaking the air. The glow spread, pulsing through the valley, flowing into the weapons of the tribe. Dead spears came alive with light. Broken blades burned with new power. The tribe roared and surged forward with renewed strength. Ethan's chest tightened. "She's not just their last hope," he whispered. "She's their future." The battle turned. The council soldiers faltered under the wave of glowing warriors. One by one they fell until only their leader remained. He raised his staff, fury blazing in his visor. "This is not over. The council will return. You cannot protect them all." Ethan stepped forward, battered, bleeding, but unbroken. His voice was low and sharp. "Then let them come. I'll be here." The leader sneered, then vanished into his ship. The remaining vessel lifted off, disappearing into the red sky. The valley was quiet again. Ethan fell to his knees, exhausted. Around him the tribe gathered, victorious but weary. The silver warrior placed her hand on his shoulder, her eyes filled with respect. The older woman approached, the girl at her side. She whispered one word, and this time the device translated clearly. "Protector." The tribe repeated it, their voices rising together, echoing through the valley. Ethan looked at the girl, her glow still bright, her eyes filled with both innocence and power. She smiled and whispered his name softly. For the first time, Ethan allowed himself to smile back. He was no longer just a human engineer. No longer just a wanderer on a lonely world. He was a protector. And he knew this was only the beginning.